Good evening and welcome to this special show. I'm Amritpal Singh. The World Economic Forum is taking place in Davos in Switzerland beginning Tuesday. Narendra Modi would be making his debut at the World Economic Forum as Prime Minister. He's earlier been there as Chief Minister 10 years ago. He will be making the plenary address on the 23rd of January. That's on Tuesday. Prime Minister Modi is expected to encapsulate making of a new, young and innovative India in his address. Here's a report on that.
Davos in Switzerland is all set to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Team India comprising various cabinet ministers and business leaders. This will be the first time that India will host the welcome reception, where yoga will also be showcased along with cuisine from across the country. Prime Minister Modi will deliver the opening plenary address on 23rd of January. Prime Minister will encapsulate making of a new, young and innovative India in his address.
In the last 1 year, a number of reforms have occurred, improvement in the rankings in a number of agencies, the GST, the recent reforms introduced on single brand retailing and so on. And so the message is we have opened up the economy and you're welcome to come and take advantage of it. I think the focus therefore is for our Prime Minister to articulate his vision of how he sees the Indian economy as contributing not only to the domestic improvement of for the benefit of the people of India, but also on a global scale.
As many as 6 union ministers, 2 chief ministers, over 100 CEOs and several other high-profile attendees from India will be part of India contingent at WEF.
Country strategy dialogue on India, it takes place. So our finance minister, Minister for Commerce and Industry, and also Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas will be a part of it from the Government of India side. This interactive session is meant to understand current market developments and policy priorities for India, provide views and perspectives, identify opportunities for PPP. So, say opportunity for political leaders, business executives, and policy experts to engage on a forward-looking dialogue. So that will be the most important session, perhaps.
Adding star power, Bollywood king Shah Rukh Khan will talk about creating change in India through women empowerment.
These 60 companies are across 26 different sectors. And the market cap of all these companies is $3.3 trillion. If it had been a country, it would have been 5th largest in the world.
Talking of global leaders, apart from PM Modi and President Trump, UK's Theresa May, Canada's Justin Trudeau, France's Emmanuel Macron, Brazil's Michel Temer and Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu are among several heads of nations who will be participating in the gathering.
It's been a snowy day here in Davos, but talk of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's reform initiatives have reached this city in the heart of the Alps. The city is gearing up for the World Economic Forum's annual summit on the 23rd of January, which the Prime Minister is going to address in the opening session. Initiatives such as GST have pushed India to greater heights with a jump of over 30 ranks in the World Bank's ease of doing business, the highest by any nation. This is certainly going to be a highlight at the summit on the 23rd of January. With camera person Ankur Arora, this is Shantanu Pratap Singh for DD News.
And our correspondent Shantanu Pratap Singh also spoke to India's ambassador to Switzerland, C.B. George, about the Prime Minister's visit to Davos. What would be on the agenda? Let's listen in.
The World Economic Forum's annual summit in Davos is beginning on the 23rd of January, and it is going to be a historic occasion because this is the first time in over 20 years that an Indian Prime Minister is visiting this summit. To talk to us more about the World Economic Forum's annual summit and the Indian Prime Minister's visit, we have with us the Indian Ambassador to Switzerland, Mr. C.B. George. Sir, what are the expectations of the people of Switzerland and particularly Davos about the Indian Prime Minister's visit?
This year has been of very historic event in terms of the World Economic Forum summit here. The participation of the business community, almost more than 3,000 business leaders and CEOs are participating in the event. A lot of heads of states, heads of governments are coming in. Several political leadership is coming. The Prime Minister is coming here to give his keynote address at the opening session. This is an important occasion, and the people assembling here are looking forward to listening to Prime Minister and his, and also looking at the achievements, the transformation that India happened in the last few years in India, covering all areas of economic progress in the last few years.
One of Prime Minister Modi's focus areas has been youth. So what are the potential areas of opportunity for the youth of India with regards to the World Economic Forum's annual summit?
Inclusiveness is one of the main messages of this event happening here, because when I turn around, I see a lot of youth coming in with the startup projects, a lot of new projects coming up. So there is that element that from all over the world, the business community is coming together, the leadership is coming together. So, you know, in India, as our Prime Minister said, Sabke Saath, Sabka Vikas. So that element is, I could see a reflection of that in Davos.
When we are talking about economic diplomacy, do you think something has changed with the way that India conducts economic diplomacy? Have we become more proactive?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, there was a time we had the Look East policy. Now, you know, that was transformed into Act East. That kind of a change in the way we conduct things has happened in the economic diplomacy. We are very proactive today, and you know, at going across to the various countries, meeting the business community, and telling them what has happened in India, and that is encouraging the international community and the business community to come to India. The grading of the World Bank, that is a phenomenal change which the world has seen in the last couple of years, and that is helping us.
We've seen that yoga is going to be featured at the World Economic Forum summit, and Indian cuisine as well. So with those two factors, is soft power a new means of engaging with the world?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Two yoga gurus have come from India, and there is going to be one performance, session in the Alps, from here, and another in the city here. So yoga is being projected, and in fact yoga is being welcomed all over the world. Same thing about our cuisine. There is going to be I could say that there is going to be an India festival in Davos in the next couple of days.
Right, sir. A marriage of the Himalayas and the Alps, as you mentioned. Thank you for talking to DD News about the World Economic Forum's annual summit and the Prime Minister's address, sir.
So marriage of the Himalayas and the Alps, that's how our ambassador puts it. We'll have to see what transpires at this World Economic Forum. But the world is looking watching it very keenly. Especially Prime Minister Modi would be addressing the plenary session, the world's the leader of the world's biggest democracy. And the closing session would be addressed by US President Donald Trump, the oldest democracy of the world. So the world is keenly watching that. What could transpire there? To talk about that, I have with me Ajay Malhotra, former senior diplomat. Also, I have with me Professor Abhijit Das. He's the head of the Center for WTO Studies at the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. Both gentlemen, many thanks for being on the show. Let me begin with you, Ambassador Malhotra. The Prime Minister addresses the opening session of the WEF. What could we expect there?
Well, first of all, we have to recognize that this is the first time that India will be more or less opening this very important forum, the Davos Forum. We were last there in 1997, but that was a long time ago and not much of a splash. I think this time it's going to be a big deal. And we would be leading from the front in one sense, setting the tone for the meeting in the days that would follow. And as you said, the concluding session would be addressed by the American president. So what already raised? Certainly, I think the issues about the progress that India has made in terms of economic reforms that have taken place, and there are many of them. I won't go into the details. We just heard them from other speakers. And also highlight that people who have come there because they have an interest. They are world leaders who come with an interest. They have a concern over some of these issues. And we have to show that these issues and these concerns can be something that India can lead you forward with. So we are looking for example, we are looking for investments into India, and they are looking to invest wherever it must be most appropriate. With the Indian economy growing at a good pace, I think this seems to be the right country to put your money in. And companies will put their money in only where they see a good return. So it has to be something that is mutually beneficial. I would expect our Prime Minister to speak about the benefit that would accrue to investors in line with the benefit that would accrue to India. And given that we are really the growth engine right now of the world economy, it makes abundant common sense for countries to look seriously at India, which is why we are putting in so much effort to see that we make not only a big splash, but a loud bang, I would say, in Davos.
All right. Professor Das, if you look at the Prime Minister's tweets today, the hashtag that he uses is India means business. So essentially, at the WEF, he'll be selling India as a good business destination, or would the message be something else to especially the investors?
The message to the investors would be at different levels. One, of course, as you rightly said, coming to India makes very good business sense. Not only that, foreign businessmen are certainly welcome in India. Number 3, India is a place which provides shining prospects for foreign business, and all the 3 aspects would coalesce together for a mutually beneficial relationship between the Indian economy on the one hand and foreign investor on the other. Let's bear in mind that at this juncture, India requires a good amount of investment, particularly in the infrastructure sector, if we are to sustain our development or take the development to a slightly higher trajectory over the next decade or so. So it is in our interest to attract foreign investment, and it's also in the interest of foreign investors to look closely at India for doing business. So clearly, India means business really is a two-way process to attract foreign investment and to sell India's prospects so as we get investment in return.
All right. So, the Prime Minister essentially, as the two guests were are saying that the Prime Minister would be essentially, saying that, look, India has good prospects. India is the growth engines of India are guzzling. We have a huge manpower base. So it's a good investment destination to come and invest in. But the Prime Minister has also been at various fora sending a key message saying, come, make in India. Just don't put your money here. You bring in your technologies. We've got the resources. We've got a good investment climate here. We've got a good business climate here. Our ease of doing business rankings have gone up. So come, make here, collaborate with us. That could be one of the key messages. We'll talk about that with our guests, but that's after a very short break. Don't go away.
जब हमें पता हो कि हमारा पैसा कहां जा रहा है, जब हमें दिख रहा हो कि हमारा पैसा तकनीक हो या विज्ञान, शिक्षा हो या स्वास्थ्य, अनेकों क्षेत्रों में अवसरों के नए आयाम खोल रहा है, जब हमें सुनाई दे रहा हो कि भारत की तरक्की की गाथा पूरे विश्व में गूंज रही है, तो विश्वास होता है कि हमारा इनकम टैक्स सही जगह जा रहा है। देश हमारी भागीदारी, हमारे आयकर से प्रगति की राह पर बढ़ रहा है। कैशलेस अर्थव्यवस्था में डिजिटल माध्यमों से पारदर्शी हो रहा है। तो आइए शपथ लें कि ईमानदारी का उत्सव हर दिन मनाएंगे और सही से व समय से अपना इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न फाइल करके स्वच्छ धन अभियान से जुड़ जाएंगे।
ये लो। गुड न्यूज सर, आज से आपको पेट्रोल पे 20% का डिस्काउंट मिलेगा। 20%। लॉटरी लग गई तो मेरे बाकी के पैसे लूटे डाले। वो तो आपके हाथ में ना। 45 की स्पीड पे गाड़ी चलाइए, रेड लाइट पे इंजन ऑफ कर दीजिए, 20% पेट्रोल तो जरूर बचेगा। बात तो वही है ना। PCRA का एंड्रॉइड ऐप डाउनलोड करें और ईंधन बचाने के उपाय जानें। पेट्रोलियम संरक्षण अनुसंधान संघ, पेट्रोलियम एवं प्राकृतिक गैस मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
मेरे शेर तैयार है ना? हाँ यार। चल। क्या सिखाया था मैंने? क्या होती है असली मर्दानगी?
प्यार के साथ संयम, मर्द ने कंडोम मारना।
और मैंने क्या सिखाया था? क्या होती है छिछोरों की निशानी? ये पहले साल में बच्चे
करते हैं। देखिए, प्यार के साथ जिम्मेदारी भी निभाना, इसी में असली मर्दानगी।
ये किसने सिखाया बे?
ये मेरी अपनी है यार।
सेहत और सोच दोनों से तैयार होकर परिवार बढ़ा रहा है इंडिया। फोन करें और परिवार नियोजन से जुड़ी सब जानकारी पाएं। जोड़ी जिम्मेदार जो प्लान करे परिवार।
दरवाजा बंद। दरवाजा बंद। दरवाजा बंद। क्यों भाई साहब, कहाँ चले? कब से चिल्ला रहे हैं दरवाजा बंद, दरवाजा बंद, दरवाजा बंद। सुनाई नहीं दे रहा? इधर आइए, इधर घुसिए, अंदर चलिए। अरे खुले में शौच जाइएगा तो बीमारी खुल के फैलेगी। दरवाजा बंद तो बीमारी बंद। ठीक कह रहे हैं ना? शौचालय का उपयोग कीजिए और भारत को स्वच्छ बनाइए। साबुन से हाथ धो लीजिएगा।
Welcome back. We're talking about the World Economic Forum in Davos in Switzerland, which begins on Tuesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is traveling tomorrow to Davos. He'll be addressing the opening plenary session of the World Economic Forum, where leaders from all over the world, companies from all over the world, social entrepreneurs from all over the world gather. It'll be interesting to see what the Prime Minister speaks about. But before we went into the break, our guests on the show, Ambassador Ajay Malhotra and Professor Abhijit Das from the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, were saying that the Prime Minister is likely to talk about how India is a good investment destination. Ambassador Malhotra, let me come to you. Make in India is a flagship program of the government of India. The Prime Minister has been talking about that. We saw when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu came, he spoke about that. He's been speaking about it at various fora. Is he expected to bring that up?
For sure. I would be very surprised if he didn't. It is, as you said, a flagship program. And the right place to tom-tom it would be at Davos. You have exactly the right audience. You have top political leaders and you have top business CEOs who would be very attentive and would be listening.
Okay.
People are coming there to hear what you have to say. What is the vision you have to share? What are the opportunities that are emerging which are new and which can be exploited to see where profit can be made for the companies and where mutual benefit can be derived by both sides.
Okay.
And there's absolutely no doubt that he would promote Make in India out there.
If Prime Minister promotes Make in India, Professor Das, President Trump would be talking about America first. The Chinese would be saying, look at our economy size, come collaborate with us. This year's theme is creating a shared future in a fractured world. So in a world which is fractured, how would they create a shared future?
Very interesting question you've raised. This theme of creating a shared future in a fractured world really rings true, finds resonance with the Prime Minister's own vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Let's bear in mind that globalization creates winners and losers. It has created a fair bit of disparity amongst nations and within nations because of globalization. So very clearly, choosing this theme requires us to address this issue of disparities among nations and within nations because of globalization. And I'd again be surprised if the Prime Minister were not to address this issue in his plenary address. This is something where there's a global forum for the Prime Minister to articulate his vision, which he has articulated domestically, to propel it at the global level, to put it forward to the global leaders to discuss how to make globalization more development friendly. And that, I think, will be a very, very key contribution of the Prime Minister were he to go down this path. And I am fairly optimistic that this is an issue which the Prime Minister will certainly touch upon.
All right. Ambassador Malhotra, let me also understand it from you. Creating a shared future in a fractured world. We know it is a fractured world, but this is it's politically fractured, it's socially fractured, it is economically fractured. Economic policies amongst nations run at cross purposes. But wouldn't we see the same thing play out? What is the shared future that you're talking about when you're competing for the same pie? In our context, say with China.
Well, if you look at the investment opportunities which will be on offer from the Indian side, the companies that are looking to invest in India are looking to make profit in India. So it's not that they're coming here just to make in India and that will give them value. They want to make profit and take it out. At the same time, and that is, you set the framework for them to do so, while at the same time you benefit by getting, for example, employment. And that I think is a serious issue which our government is now pursuing, and Make in India gives you those options to increase your employment numbers, which with the, given the size of the Indian population is very important. And I think politically correct to do. You have to find ways to generate more employment. So Make in India allows both the country where the making is taking place, that is India, and also the country or the company who is putting the investment to benefit, because he's getting the advantage of, for example, more competitive wages being paid compared to what you'd have to pay, for example, in USA or UK or France or Germany, and even China. In China, the wage rates are going up at a fairly good pace, and therefore you find that business, etc., investment, are shifting to countries like Vietnam, Laos, and India. We want to show that we have the technological capacity to absorb technologies, we have the innovative capacities to offer also, and we have the ability and the manpower, the trained manpower, which is why Skill India is also very important. The trained manpower which will help companies generate profits for themselves while benefiting the country where they are putting their investment.
All right.
So everyone benefits.
So you're essentially saying that it will be the unique selling propositions of these countries, that the uniqueness that you have is what the leaders will be showcasing about their countries. It's up for the companies to come and see what suits them most.
Indeed, and I think there's a recognition by the world that India is going places. The very fact that our Prime Minister has been invited, the opening day reception is by India, our Prime Minister will open the event, means that the world wants to know what is India planning to do beyond, what is the Prime Minister's vision.
All right.
And they're all coming very attentively to hear him out.
Absolutely. So it's not just the Prime Minister who's traveling, 6 cabinet ministers of his, the Finance Minister, the Commerce Minister, Oil and Natural Gas Minister, 2 Chief Ministers, Devendra Fadnavis and Chandrababu Naidu are also a part of his delegation, apart from the businesses that Bollywood is going to be there. So it's going to be really a big, quite a wide cross-section of society that will be representing India there. So we could expect the soft part to be over on display. We'll talk about that, but that's after this very short break.
जगमग कल जगमग 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 देश स्वच्छ हो निर्मल हो। ये है इनक्रेडिबल इंडियंस और इन्हीं से है इनक्रेडिबल इंडिया।
बच्चन जी,
बोलो बच्चा जी।
आपने वो फिल्म कुली की थी ना?
कुली? हाँ, कुली की थी।
तब तो आप रेलों के बारे में बहुत जानते होंगे।
हाँ, थोड़ा बहुत जानता हूँ।
तो बताइए, कौन सा ट्रैक किसका है?
इस वाली पे चंद्रपुर वाली आती है और उस वाली पे बहादुरगढ़ वाली आती है।
गलत जवाब।
हाँ?
वहाँ पर हरिया जी बाल्टी लेकर आते हैं और वहाँ पर मुसद्दी जी लोटा लेकर। अरे उसको आगे।
अरे सुनिए, बाल्टी नीचे रखिए। आपको क्या लगता है बाहर शौच जाने से गंदगी बाहर निकल जाएगी? उल्टा बीमारियां अंदर आती हैं। और अब तो स्वच्छ भारत अभियान के अंतर्गत भारत सरकार भी शौचालय बनाने में मदद कर रही है। तो आप भी शौचालय बनाइए, खुद जाइए, अपने परिवार को भी ले जाइए। अरे इस बच्चन की नहीं सुन रहे तो कम से कम इस बच्चन की तो सुनिए।
खुशी मनाओ घर में अब तो पिंडिया है आई, बायोस्कोप के सन्नू को
से नए रंग है लाई, बचपन में उसकी हंसी में सुर सारे खुल जाए, बड़ी जो होवे तो प्रगति के सारे द्वार खुल जाए, तू करे जो कल्पना जेबों में चांद भर लाए, बेटी जो पढ़ जाए दुनिया को रोशन कर जाए, बेटी जो पढ़ जाए दुनिया को रोशन कर जाए, हाँ सानिया से साइना दुनिया में नाम कर जाए, घर की बेटी भारत माँ की आन बान बन जाए, राजनीति हो या गृहस्थी सब में अव्वल आए, बेटी जो
बेटियों के पंखों को खुलने दीजिए, उन्हें उड़ने दीजिए। बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ, महिला एवं बाल विकास मंत्रालय द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
भाग भाग, अरे भाग। ओहो, चप्पल नहीं पहनी पकड़ा गया ना, देखा आपने लापरवाही का नतीजा है। ऐसे ही पोलियो की खुराक न लेने से पोलियो आपके बच्चे को पकड़ सकता है। भारत पोलियो मुक्त है पर दुनिया नहीं। ये वायरस दोबारा देश के अंदर प्रवेश कर सकता है, इसलिए जन्म से लेकर के 5 साल तक हर बार अपने बच्चे को पोलियो की खुराक दिलवाइए।
राष्ट्रीय पोलियो चक्र 28 जनवरी 2018।
2 बूंद हर बार, जीत रहे बरकरार।
Welcome back. You're watching a special discussion on the World Economic Forum at Davos, which kicks off on coming Tuesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be travelling to Davos to address the opening plenary session of the World Economic Forum. I have with me Ambassador Ajay Malhotra and Professor Abhijit Das to talk about that. Ambassador Malhotra, the Indian cuisine, yoga, the power of Bollywood, Shah Rukh Khan is being honoured there. All would be on display apart from the Prime Minister and his cabinet colleagues and the chief ministers. So soft power of India being they'll be harnessing the soft power of India to achieve the objectives of investment and investment into the country.
Well, soft power will set the stage for it.
Okay.
Soft power by itself will not bring you investment. No private company worth its salt is going to invest in a country simply because there was a nice yoga event that they attended, or the meal was very tasty. They would do so. They would do so only if they see that there's benefit to be got and money to be made, because profit is the driving motive for all corporations, and that is the main point to be shown. And I think the Prime Minister is very clear about that when he talks also about his programs and projects that he has in mind, Make in India, Skill India, etc. These are all linked with attracting investment into India and showing the world community that we also have attractions on the side. Indian culture, Indian heritage is worth a visit. It is something that you can also appreciate when you're in India.
All right.
But there's the money to be made also out there, and in a mutually beneficial way.
Professor Das, my question really to Ambassador was that when you showcase your diversity, when you showcase your inclusiveness, when you showcase your democracy, that does interest companies to come and invest rather than invest in, say, more authoritarian, where authoritarian regimes persist, because for their people to come and work, they'll be more willing to come and work in a place which is more open as a society. Does that play a part?
That definitely would play a part. Let's not forget the entire mix of issues that will be projected, which constitutes soft power, at the end of the day will create a very positive narrative for the country. It should hopefully lead to increase in tourism. They should hopefully make the foreign investors a bit more positively inclined towards India. But as Ambassador Malhotra said, they would come only if there are prospects for profits. But in a nutshell, it will showcase India as an absolutely unique country with unique opportunities, a unique destination, which will be very, very rare, if not totally impossible, for investors or for tourists to find anywhere in the world. So I would conclude by saying that yes, articulating the soft power will certainly go a long way in
creating the environment for this thing. Well, that's all the time we have for. As the Prime Minister himself said in his departing statement prior to his departure, he said, at Davos, I look forward to sharing my vision for India's future engagement with the international community. So he'll be engaging with the corporates, with the civil society, with governments, of course. We'll have to wait and see what transpires there. Both gentlemen, many thanks for being on the show and sharing your insights with us. Well, that's all the time we have for. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.